everyone! Welcome to July's mid-year block of the month. So this month we're going to do clamshells. I don't think we've ever done clamshells before, so it's a little time consuming but a lot of fun to do. So in your kit you're going to receive 12 pieces of green fabric. They're pretty much all the greens that we've used so far in the blocks. And you're going to receive enough fabric to make 5 or 6 clamshell pieces. Most of the fabric is cut 2.5 by about 14. Then you're going to add your own fabric into the block. These two are my fabrics that I've been using throughout the block. And you create a really cute little clamshell pattern. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make yourself a template. On the second page of the pattern, you'll find the template right at the bottom. You are going to either trace that onto template plastic or onto freezer paper. Either of them will work. Just super easy. You slip it right underneath, take a pen, trace around it, cut it out. If I use template plastic, I always spray my back with 505 spray, so it's super sticky, so I can put it on there. If I use freezer paper, it's just a very light iron-on. So the waxy side of the paper gets down and you just give it a quick press and it will stick right to your fabric, so you don't need to use any pins for either of these. I actually folded the fabric in half when I did mine, and I cut myself 3 templates and I cut them 2 at a time. So you have to cut 72 clamshells. So you're going to cut 72 clamshell pieces for this. So if you double it up and cut it 2 at a time, it goes pretty quick. So after you're done cutting all your clamshell pieces, you're going to take your 13 by 13 background piece. And really, it doesn't matter what fabric you use this month because you're not going to see any of it. But you're going to iron a crease into it, and then you're going to follow the directions for the lines. The first line is at 3/4, and then you just continue down, drawing a line every inch, and you're going to make 13 lines an inch apart. So the first line will be 1 3/4. The first line is actually at 3/4. The second line would be 1 3/4, the third line 2 3/4, 3 3/4, all the way down the fabric for 13 lines. After you do that, then it's just as easy as putting your clamshells on. So the first, you're going to follow the directions, and the first row you're going to place on the 1 3/4 line, and you're going to place the tip of your clamshell right so it touches the center. So the way I attached my clamshells is and you want to kind of line them up. You can see this is a faulty clamshell. I'm a little short on my tip, but that's where I would put it. The way I attached it is I used a glue stick. So I just put a little bit of glue on the back of my clamshells and I put it down. I actually followed the arch of the clamshell when I got past the second line, and then I would just glue it down. So the second row would be just following. You would center one clamshell and then you would just follow the pattern. You do that all over the entire background piece. So just glue and put them on, and then when you finish that process, all you're going to do is slip a piece of stitch and tear behind it. and stitch over all the clamshells. I did some fancy stitching here, hoping that it looks kind of like mountains. Have fun with it, do whatever you want when it comes to stitching. And at the end, you're just going to trim it to 12.5 by 12.5. A couple of hints I'll tell you is I noticed when I went to start sewing mine that I wasn't going to be able to square mine to 12.5 by 12.5 without having little white spots at the top. So I actually just stuck in a little bit of fabric on my first row and covered up the white background because I did not want that showing. Besides that, it was a fairly easy block to do once you got done cutting everything. Another option, if you did not want to glue your pieces, is I would use Heat and Bond Feather Light, and I would iron that on the back of your fabric first, and then you could cut out all your clamshells, and then you could just fuse them. So either way, you're just trying to get a light temporary stick to your clamshells before you go ahead and stitch on them. So I hope you enjoyed doing this block. It was a lot of fun, and when you get done, send me a picture of your block. You can always send it to Cheryl close-to-home@yahoo.com or Glastonbury, what's our email?
Close-to-home-gberry.
Close-to-home-gberry
@gmail.com.
So either one of those, I'll get to see what you've been doing. So I'd love to see some pictures. Have a good month. Thanks.